Third is speculatory motives. Now, speculation means what? You try to hold the money in anticipation that the cost of having that money, if say for example you're holding certain amount of money, that money some people need it badly and they are willing to pay as much as cost is possible, then at that point of time you hold money for in anticipation that the demand for money is going to be there definitely. They are willing to pay higher interest rates. Some people might hold money, speculatory purpose. Speculation, simply put, means to take advantage of unforeseen circumstance. Out of a sudden, you see that there's shortage of money, and then simply you go there. It's like, if you want to explain it, money lender. There are no other sources of money. He has money. People are willing to have that money at higher interest rates. Since people are willing to go for money at higher interest rates, there is a speculative demand for that kind of money. Now, under this theory, under the Keynesian theory, the demand for money is dependent on two things. One is the income and the interest rates. If the incomes are better, people will demand for money before transaction and precautionary motive. And in the interest rates are high, people will have demand for money for speculative motive. That's motives. And also demand for money depends upon the desire to hold cash. Why you want to hold cash? You want to hold cash because you want to take advantages of the three motives, that is transaction motive, precautionary motive and speculative motive. Now there is one more theory, that is last theory that is coming up, which is gone by the name as modern monetarist theory, right? Proposed by Milton Friedman, American economist. Right, Milton Friedman. What does it say? He says that demand for money is similar to like demand for any other commodity or service. Why do you buy a product? Because why do you sell a product? Because there is demand for it. So why do people want money? Because people just want to hold money, spend money. It's simply that it is like similarly like any other demand. Again, demand falls under, demand is for needs, wants and desires. Some people, large number of people, they say that they need money. Certain percentage of people, they say they want money, and say a certain section of money also desires to hold money. So in a sense, in simple terms, demand for money is like demand for any other product or commodity or service. It's very simple. There's no logic that goes by that sense. If you ask people, what do you need? Of course, these things, they depend upon the prices and incomes of that. So, what does that equation say? Demand for money is function of F of W, H, R and P, where W stands for wealth. H is the ratio of human wealth to non-human wealth. That's human wealth. How many people do they prefer? Having good human health, and human health always comes at cost. And these costs, they are met by the demand for money. H is the ratio of human health to non-human health. Financial, like we nowadays keep on talking about financial health. If you want to be financially healthy, that means you need to hold certain assets and those assets can be in any other form, which are again measured in terms of money. So there's demand for money. R is interest rates prevailing at that point of time, and P is price levels. So money demanded is a function of what? Wealth, ratio of human wealth to non-human wealth, interest rates and prices. That means wealth reflects the desire to hold money. Human health, the ratio of human health to non-human health means you want to spend. Our interest rates, everything is dependent upon the cost of money, interest rates, and P, the prevailing prices. So it is a reflection of all these. Demand for money is a reflection of desirability, spending, medium of exchange, interest rates and price levels. Now, if you see across all these theories, all these theories, they are again intricately connected with the functions of money. That means functions of money predominantly determine the quantum of money that is demanded, very simply put. Now, that means if people want money, they will have to pay cost, that is interest rates. Now, when people shift from needs to wants to desire for money, accordingly the interest rates, they go up or come down. But in any case, these concept of money, it plays a very strong impact. You take the money out of system, everything collapses, because what happens is that whatever products and services we are manufacturing, we are producing, their values determined are in terms of, it is measured in terms of money. How much this spectacle is worth is measured in terms of money. So, hence it is said that money plays a critical role, not even crucial, right? Crucial it definitely plays, but plays a critical role. It determines the fate of a nation. Money determines the fate of a nation. Why we consider US to be a powerful economy is because the money that is being proposed by that particular government has immense value, and it has gained immense value because of its transactionary purpose, right? That is used as it's largely used as a medium of transaction, function of money, right? Medium of exchange. So, since the currency that is being used largely by large number of population, of course, definitely that is going to have value, and hence there is large value attached to US dollar per se. So, in other words, if we want to increase the value of rupee, what do we need to do? We need to promote the use of rupee. That means use of rupee means, how do you promote the use of rupee? If you promote exports, that means what? You are sending goods out of the country, and demand from the public that you need to make payments in terms of rupees, then that what happens? The value of the rupee definitely goes up. If you are importing, imports are costly not because the prices of goods or services that are being imported are costly. No. You are making payment in terms of the currency which is not your own national currency. And hence, there is always pressure on rupee. It underperforms against the dollar. So these are the certain things that need to be taken into consideration while we are trying to understand the theories of demand for money. It appears to be difficult, but in principle and in essence and in spirit, these understanding of these terminologies, it becomes easier once you start getting used to the terms. Keep hearing these words quite often, keep reading these words quite often, keep writing these words quite often. There's no other way to understand the complexities of simple theories. Thank you. Take care.